All right, guys. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan, and we have Craig Walker with us today. How are you, Craig?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this, as always.
Yay, yay. We have a very special guest today, David Zaragoza. I hope I say that right. Katherine was also supposed to be with us today, Katherine Townsend, but she is a little tiny bit busy having a baby. She just literally went into labor early and had the baby, I think, yesterday. So I think we'll give her a
Well,
pass.
actually, I was going to say I think she needs to get her priorities sorted out and join the show.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to have her back another time and
Yeah.
share her
All the
testimony.
best to Catherine.
Yes, when things kind of maybe slow down a little bit, but we're really excited about this topic. From my heart, I absolutely love juicing, and Catherine is where I get my juice weekly. It's great for nutrients, obviously, all the good things. I don't own a juicer. I did at one point, but it was so much cleanup that I found, and we'll talk about it. But anyway, before we get started, um, let's talk about Sunday because we have something important coming up here. I want to remind everybody about. You want to explain? This is a biggie.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait for this because we have a members meeting with Tyler Kiwala and Aaron Kuhn from Journey to Truth, along with Tony Rodriguez. If you don't know who they are by now, where have you been? I'm really excited because we get to have a conversation with the members. You're all on with us, and you get to ask them some questions. I mean, there could be questions about memory recall because a lot of people. I mean, I'm being contacted at the moment by a lot of people. As I would say, a lot of people, by some people who are having what they think are dreams, and they're actually, as I'm talking to them, it's actually becoming more like their memories. Things are happening, something's going on. And people are having these experiences. So these are the perfect guys to talk to. If you've got questions about your own personal journey, they will be able to help you. So I encourage you to become a member, get in on the conversation, and we'll have a lot of fun when we do it.
Yes, and I see Kathy is on with us. She's one of our members. So thank you to all of our members that are helping support us in keeping this channel going. I actually do a giveaway every month too, and we will be announcing the giveaway this next week too. I'm doing a free biofeedback scan and consultation valued at $222. So we just randomly pick like one of the members every month, and last month was Lisa, which she had a good time, and we're gonna pick another one.
DiMartino.
What's up?
Is that Lisa DiMartino?
Yes.
Yeah, I know she is. Yeah. Hi, Lisa, if you're on.
Yep. Awesome. So without further ado, I'm going to get David on here, and but yeah, I hope to see you guys Sunday. The link should be in here for you to go ahead and sign up if that's what you want to do, and then yeah, we have a lot of really good. We have Barbara Lamb coming up, Dan and Brinkley we have coming up. We have, gosh, I'm trying to remember all the lineup. It's anyway. You guys want to get on it, so make sure you're hitting the subscribe button if you're new. Get the notifications so you know about it, and get on the newsletter. Yeah, that's the important thing, is like knowing, because people will say, oh my gosh, I missed this, I'm so sorry. Or even if you can't catch it live, you can catch the replay. But if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. So definitely get on the newsletter. All right, without any other announcements before we get David on?
No, let's go for it.
Awesome. All right, David, here we go.
Hello.
All right.
Here I am.
Yay,
Thank you.
welcome. So
Yeah.
happy to have you here. I actually met David online, like we've all met each other online. He is a manager of a juicing place, but he's way more than that. If you guys, please, I'm excited to hear your story. I've heard a little bit about it, but tell us a little bit how you got here, and I want to know all of it, like your testimony, what you do, and you came up with the title about electric juicing because we are electric. So talk a little bit about all of that.
Well, I didn't know about it before the juice bar. I was in the medical field. I was an EMT, and we live in a rural area. So for me, my partner is a paramedic, but he would sort of train me because it's just the two of us. Around here, fire never responds to medical emergencies. So it's just two
really?
guys, yeah. So it's a big deal. But at that time, I was really good at problem solving. We're not allowed to diagnose in the field. So it's always assumption and presumption, when it comes to medical ailments, but in the juice bar, preventative wellness is sort of the same thing. I don't claim to be a doctor, and I can't make medical claims, but I can help you help yourself. And I started with myself, because after 15 years of emergency response, I wasn't spiritually connected. I was disconnected through childhood trauma and a lot of things that happened, but also I wasn't taking care of myself. And I was really good at taking care of other people, but I neglected to take care of myself. And that was around 2013. I figured a lot of things had happened at that time, so I needed to go inward. And I didn't even know what that meant spiritually at that time, but my spirit knew. So my family, at that time, they owned a couple of care homes for elderly and disabled. And I joined the team, and I opened up my own care home for elderly and disabled. So I went from the public to the private, and I didn't even know what that meant at that time. Now I do. I know how significant that is spiritually, but at that time I was still disconnected and unaware. And I did that for 6 years, still not taking care of myself, still taking care of others, neglecting myself. And I was addicted to sugar, so I was popping Reese's peanut butter cups. Like every time I walked by the freezer, I would pop a little mini Reese's in my mouth. That was my stress management. But I didn't know what oxidative stress was at that time. I didn't really know what antioxidant meant, because I didn't know what an oxidant was. And of course I knew, because I had an old Chevy truck that had rust on the fender. So I knew what oxidation was. I just didn't know how it related to human biology, health, and wellness. But I knew about anatomy and physiology. I knew about emergency management and response, but still I didn't know how to take care of my own self. And my Acura, SUV was in for routine maintenance, but my biological vehicle wasn't. So I was taking better care of my car than I was myself. And I had reached the end of my rope. And at about that time, God knew what I needed. And I needed a little miniature version of my own inner child to come and bless me in this physical reality. So I became a father, and I started to love myself. And I finally understood what unconditional love felt like. And it reconnected me to the love from my creator, my father. So I had a spiritual awakening. My aunt, who was also in the middle of her health journey, had completed a juice cleanse, like just a grape juice, grape and lime. And it's called the Grape Cure. So it comes from Cape Town, South Africa. And this book that she read by Johanna Brandt changed her life. And, then she helped me make changes, positive changes that have changed my life. And now we're helping others do the same in our juice bar. She's the owner, and I say that I'm the operator. I helped develop a wellness program. I started with myself, and it was a ripple effect. And now we're helping the community. So that's basically more or less in a nutshell. My daughter was my inspiration to help me reconnect to my Heavenly Father. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, there's a lot. Shortly after that, a lot of things happened, but I found you through synchronicity, Dr. Sharnael. You've helped me, like you said, through your biofeedback, which I do biofeedback here. I have a biofeedback scanner. I have a lot of the same healing modalities that you have. And, we're in alignment. So nothing happens for no reason. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Awesome. Can you explain a little bit about oxidation, just for like the average Joe? And then also explain, you had quite a transformation. I saw the before and after pictures. So
right.
Go into that.
Well, so oxidation, before that though, I'll tell you, I appreciate your compliment, but that was just the physical. And if you could see the before and after of my emotional and my spiritual body, you would see a more dramatic difference. And a lot of us get hung up on the physical because that's what we can see. And, it's not vanity, but my emotional health was even worse than my physical health. That's why I was addicted to sugar. But you can't see that. It's really easy to push that under the rug because it's not physical. And then the spiritual health was even worse than the physical health. I said I was disconnected for so long. So the idea though, and it is connected, which is why I'm glad you asked, because what is oxidation? It's the loss of an electron. And we live in a very, very salty, I live near the ocean right here in a small beach town. So my Chevy was receiving that oxidative stress because of the salt in the air. And it's a very oxidative environment right here for iron, right? And, or, for different types of metals, but also stress, sugar, alcohol, tobacco. These things are going to create an oxidative process because it's a free radical scavenger. And the free radical is an unbalanced, molecular structure because it doesn't have the electron that it needs to maintain the balance. So when you have free radical scavengers enter the body, sugar, alcohol, tobacco, stress, a hug from the wrong person, right? That's a withdrawal of energy. And so withdrawal at a cellular level, if you lose the electron, then you get the inflammation. That's all it is. It's a chain reaction. And it starts with the loss of the electron. So if your life, or if you're consuming oxidative free radical scavengers, then you're always going to have a withdrawal. So if you have more withdrawals than deposits, just like your bank account, you're going to get overdraft fees, and that's aches and pains. That's inflammation. Those are the fees that we pay. And most of us are perfectly fine with paying those fees because it's minimum. If we look at our bank account and we're like, what's that $2 withdrawal? Oh, that's okay. It's just $2. And enough of those add up though, so we can't keep doing that for our life. And that's why we needed the juice bar, because we needed more deposits than withdrawals. And we looked around, there was nothing. There was nowhere to go. So we had to build it. And if you build it, they will come. So here we are. But also, so spiritually though, what I've learned, and I really want to ask your guys's input, because I'm here to learn from you. I've been taking notes on your guys' videos for months. I'm here to take notes. So my question is in relation to what all I just said: oxidative process, the loss of the electron, inflammation and disease, right? Dis-ease. Okay, what about the electron? Where, like that L, that EL, the L, Elohim, the God within us, that electron currency, what if it's the God within us? And what if water is God, right? I don't know. There's that video that's floating around that questions whether or not water is creation or source. We all come from water. I was 9 months in the water before I made landfall. So I don't celebrate a birthday because I was already, kicking before my birthday. So these things are relevant to our health, our wellness, our balance, and then our elevation, right? And things like that. There's a lot to do with the L, the EL, and the electron. And like right here, Dr. Sharnael, I notice you have your green juice and I've got my green juice. But what about the heart chakra? What about the pH scale and the chakra system? So we have red to violet on the pH scale. Same with the chakras. And for this green juice, I say, it goes straight to my heart chakra because it's green. So there's a lot to do with that in terms of oxidative stress and spirituality. I know it's connected for sure.
Funnily enough, when you were talking, as I've been thinking about sort of this conversation, a lot of times, because we talk a lot about spiritual things and really out there topics, and looking after your own physical health is one of the most spiritual things you can do. Because if you're not physically well, it affects everything. Our whole body is designed to contain our consciousness, our essence of who we are, which is the God self. And so I'm listening to you. I'm learning from you here as well. The science of spirituality is really, really fascinating to me. And it seems like you've got a really good grasp on that. And the fact that you've set up this juice bar as a kind of a service to humanity is really, really impressive to me. And I sincerely hope it explodes, because I think it's really important. So one of the questions that I commonly hear with particularly with fruit and thing, that side of health, is I follow a kind of like a bodybuilder type. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I follow the diet and the exercise routines and things. And when in the so-called cutting phases, obviously they cut the carbohydrates right down, and they cut all their fruit down because of the sugars in it, the natural healthy sugars. And I'm like, surely that's not a good thing. How, what would you say about that? Like the difference between processed sugar and, the sugars that you find in fruit. Do you have any insight on that?
Absolutely, because of the keto fad. So everybody went keto and nobody knew why. Same reason it reminded me back in the day when everyone went Atkins and started eating bacon. And maybe that's great for some people. I know the carnivore diet does help some people, but also I feel like that's a lot of stress on the body long term. And we don't know what the long-term effects are in a lot of these things. But to answer your question, I would say that keto taught me a lot because people were coming in and they didn't know why. So I had to learn, and really it's like a restart. So most of our bodies, myself included, was used to burning glucose, refined sugar, as fuel. So think about the old steam engines. What was their fuel? Coal. What's our fuel? Sugar, processed sugar in most cases. So then you go keto and you reset the whole system, same like a fast. You could do the same thing with a 72-hour fast. Even if it's just a dry fast or a water fast or a light juice fast, to reset the system is basically resetting the fuel source. And you, Craig, your ancestral geographical lineage is different than mine. And my bloodline is more of like a plant-based people. So lots of nuts, lots of seeds, lots of fruit, minimal meat. And that's sort of what I do: minimal meat, lots of fruit, lots of nuts, lots of seeds, and living water, because most of the bottled water is dead water, has no life. My ancestors drank from the rivers and streams. They had living, activated water, and most of us aren't. So if you take a person who's lived in the Yukon in Alaska and put them on a plant-based diet, they might not survive. So it takes a lot into consideration where your geographic lineage, your bloodline comes from, but also, eat for your blood type. I know a lot of people talk about that. I don't know much about that myself. But in terms of like sugars, I would say that fructose is a natural sugar. Your body knows how to process it. But these other refined sugars, your body doesn't know how to process it, so it stores it in the fat. Fat is a Tupperware for what the body does not recognize. And then when the lymphatic system gets overwhelmed, it just stores it in the fat. That's why breast cancer, I feel like that's why breast cancer is so popular, because women have so many lymph node breasts that when the lymph nodes get overworked and overwhelmed, they just store it in the surrounding adipose tissue. And that's all a breast is adipose tissue. So then you get a tumor, which is just...
Oh, he's just dropped out.
Oh no.
He was really on a roll then as well. Oh,
I know. Well, I was just gonna pop in about the sugar situation too, and then also about the fat issue. But we'll give him a couple seconds. I'll just talk while he's doing that. Oh, there he is. Okay. Hey.
Oh, it dropped out.
So I mentioned I'm in a rural area, but we don't normally have issues with internet. So
okay,
maybe.
So you were saying
you were just talking about the C word in the breast of women is so common because it's storing the kind of the toxins. Do you remember your train of thought?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say as far as
the adipose tissue. So fat is just a Tupperware for toxins, and that's why I had a lot of fat on my body, because I was putting a lot of toxins in.
Oh man, are you there?
You still there? You there?
Yeah.
Can you hear us, David?
I'm here. Is it me?
Oh.
Awesome. Let's see. I think he's going to go somewhere else. While he's doing that, I'm just going to say from a different perspective, if you're dealing with the C, I would not have any kind of sugars, whether it's fake sugar or real sugar, because it feeds off of sugar. So like for me in my situation, I did go keto, including no fruits, because even fruit would spike my insulin and feed the situation. And if you're doing anything candida, I wouldn't suggest that either. But he is 100% accurate that, natural fruits normally aren't a big deal. And what he said about the fake fruit or the fake sweets, that is going to be a brain cluster F. It really eats away at the brain. I believe that's a lot of what's going on with dementia and other stuff. He mentioned the breast cancer situation. Yeah, I mean, that has a lot to do with aluminum and different deodorants and things like that, because they're all right here in the lymphatic system, which he explained, we do have a lot as women. Men have them too, actually. And when you mention losing weight and at storing, if someone overdoses or takes a poison, the first thing they do is they put in like a padding, insulated, like a fat situation into your body to try to absorb anything excess. So,
and then would they pull that out?
Yeah, like to kind of hybrid, like to help hold it away from the organs. But on the side of that too is if you lose weight too fast, that's where people get sick, is because if you start burning the fat, then guess what? You're dissolving the fat, and guess what's left over is the toxins, and that goes into the bloodstream. And people can have like a little bit of a Herx type flu situation. And even if you juice or, do a fast like David was talking about, you could have those side effects, side benefits, whatever. So just drinking a lot of water is a really big deal when you're doing a fast or losing weight. Like, and water for me, I had not been a big, I just hadn't been good at that, but I'm doing better now. I got me a special bottle, and I'm like really making a daily effort to make sure I get my water in. But what were you saying about you were still talking about the sugars and the lymphatic. I didn't know if you had finished that before you were moving.
You just wrapped it up perfectly, Dr. Sharnael. The first time I started doing this detox, I was not hydrating very well. I didn't know anything about water, the differences in water. And out of my armpit, where there's a lot of lymph nodes, I had going down my arm. Oh, nice. Going down my arm was like it felt like a rope, and it was underneath my skin, but it was really hard. And I thought it was, because I know from my work in emergency services, we have arteries right there. So I was like, oh man, is that a blood thing? That's what my original thought was, blood, cardiovascular or something. And but I was detoxing, and my lymphatic was moving waste, but I was dehydrated. And I think that my lymph node, there was some sort of a blockage or something in my lymph node in my armpit or in my breast area. And then that backed up like a traffic jam on the 405 down my right arm. And I was terrified. So I stopped doing all the stuff. I said, no, I don't want to be healthy. It's scary. I'm going to go back to my old ways. I can't do it. And then so like 2 or 3 years later is when I had my second go around. But this time we had the ionized water, the electrolyzed reduced water, and that helped me hydrate, which then helped me eliminate toxins, because really disease is not what you eat, drink, or think. It's what you don't eliminate. And I had an elimination issue. And I also had a malabsorption issue. I wasn't absorbing my nutrients, and I wasn't eliminating the waste. Once I started improving on both of those areas, my whole entire life changed.
Craig, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I thought you were going to say something then. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was just thinking then, because there's not me personally, but there's diabetes in my family as well. And I don't know if you have any expertise in that, but yeah, if how could this help sort of diabetics who, you've got your type 1 and type 2, say the ones that have to inject the insulin, for example, and they have to really control their diet. How would could juicing help them?
Well, I do have a friend who has an insulin pump. She is type 1, and she has an app on her phone that monitors her CBGs. It's also an automatic, Is
that the thing on the arm where they test
them?
Yeah.
And she noticed right away that her app on her phone manages all of her stuff. So all she has to do is look at it, and she can see the trend. And she noticed that before the juice bar and after the juice bar, there's a significant difference. And then that made her doses, like the insulin doses, decreased. just overall. And now she's still, I wouldn't say dependent, I would say probably PRN, you know, and that's a huge thing, but she's got control over her health. Her health doesn't have control over her. And that's what we try to do, is promote independent medical freedom. Now, you would say that insulin pump is almost like a ball and chain, but it doesn't have to be. That's a perception. And we all have our devices, our little phones and stuff nearby. So that's just another thing. But also, it doesn't have control over her anymore. Now she's in control, and she knows why. And so that's the one thing. But then type 2, and Dr. Sharnael, correct me if I'm wrong, type 2 is hyperketoacidosis. The acidosis really makes a big difference because sugar is acidic, right? Most people say that sugar is the reason for the diabetes, and that might be true because of the insulin issue. But what about the acidic issue? Nobody really talks about that. And then not only that, but as far as homeostasis, most of the things that cause acidosis are also disrupting homeostasis. So the body is having to work extra to maintain balance. So here at the Juice Bar, we do what's called biohacking, and we give the body what it needs so it doesn't have to work as hard. And why not? You know, and if that's what our body is always trying to do, is maintain balance, then why not give it what's going to help it do that, instead of what's going to not help it do that. I used to tie my laces on my shoes right before the race, you know, every time. And all that would do is trip me up. And now it's like, no, let's not do that anymore. Let's make better choices. Because once you know, you can't unknow, you can only ignore. And that's ignorance. And that's true, you know. So I don't want to live in ignorance anymore. I really don't.
That's key, because one thing which I was thinking when you were just saying, and a question I've got for you is, did the health come first or the spiritual awakening, or were they simultaneous?
No, the health. I didn't know why I was doing it spiritually. I knew that I needed to make better choices, and my aunt had already gone through the grape cleanse, the grape cure, and she had an ovarian cyst. Her doctors wanted to do a full hysterectomy, but she didn't want to. She says, I was born with this stuff. I'm going to die with this stuff, and I'm going to go out when my time is my time, but I'm not going to have you take stuff out of me. So that really helped her awaken. She found the grape cure, and she did a 70-day grape juice fast, just Concord grapes and key lime. And that's a lymphatic waste removal. And also it helps remove mucoid plaque, which is in your intestinal lining. That's why we're not absorbing a lot of the stuff. If you think about your mouth, that's the entrance. So if you go camping, or Craig, I know you were in the service, so imagine all those times you maybe didn't brush your teeth. How'd your mouth feel? Not good, right?
Yeah,
but what about the 26 feet of the rest of the trail? We just think about the entrance, and we're not doing digestive scrubs. We're not doing, you know, there's herbal blends that we could do that help scrub the intestinal lining. But that's why I say we're malabsorbed, because once we start doing these juice cleanses, what do we start eliminating? Lots of old stuff, lots and lots and lots of stuff that's been inside of us for a real long time. And I've got friends right now, one friend who's almost done with a 30-day grape juice cleanse, and she's on like day 27, and she doesn't even want to stop. She's asking, like, is it possible for me to keep going? And she's never felt this good. And it's not about how she looks. It's truly about how she feels. And health is wealth. And most of us are bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's basically, the other thing too that I want to say is, when you don't spend that energy for digestion, your body can utilize it for healing. And most of us are always digesting every 3 or 4 hours. The modern standard American lifestyle says we're supposed to eat every 3 or 4 hours. That keeps us in a constant state of digestion, and then our body doesn't heal. And I mean, stop digesting for a couple of days and see how much energy you have. That's all I have to say.
That's a really good point, because again, as I said,
have you guys?
Sorry, can you hear me all right?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah, we good? Okay. I was just going to say, I said previously that I kind of follow a bodybuilder type routine. Again, I'm not a bodybuilder, but one thing for me was discovering intermittent fasting. So I will eat between 12 on, 12 off. And the benefit for that was amazing. And it, because I train in the morning, and the energy I had fasted in the morning, I was like, this is amazing. Because I thought, because obviously bodybuilding is all about, you've got to get your calories in, and you got to pump your body and all this sort of stuff, which I love. But I discovered, for me personally, my own body type, and that's another really important point, is everybody's body is different. You've got to find what works for you. What works for me might not work for someone else. But I found that when I got up in the morning, and what I do is I cycle to the gym first thing in the morning. I had so much energy when I did it fasted, but if I ate, I'm a bit more sluggish, and that's just give me the reason why, is because obviously my body's digestion, so it's working hard. But if I'm fasted, then it's not only is it burning fat, but it's also, it's not working overtime on the digestion. So I'm a big advocate of kind of fasting stroke intermittent fasting. So I cram my calories in a few hours, and then I stop. So then my body, when I get up in the morning, is fasted again. Again, we're talking about all this stuff, but like, well, sorry, what was that? I think you muted.
No, you were just saying intermittent fasting. You skipped over that word really fast, intermittent fasting. And that might be a great place for people to start, honestly. And we recommend that here. And for the new people, I say start with giving yourself an 8-hour window for digesting, and then a 16-hour window for healing. And when we put it in that way, it helps, I think, people do the intermittent fasting.
Yeah, that's right. And I think when I think we're so programmed, like you say, and I think a lot of it comes from certainly in this country, in the UK, like wartime. It was all about scarcity, like you've got to get your food in because it might not be here next week. This kind of, and certainly everything that's going on at the moment with all the food shortages and problems and economic issues, people are in a state of fear. So they're hoarding and they're eating, and it's like, it's not good for our mental state. It's not good for our physical state, our spiritual state. And we need to remember that we're in good hands. Again, I believe in a loving creator like yourself. And this is why spirituality is so important. And it ties in directly with all this stuff we're talking about. And the reason why I asked you before about what came first, the health or the spiritual awakening, I find it really interesting that it was the health. Because I think when you clear your body, I think that has a very, very spiritual impact on our consciousness, on how we operate and our function in our mind and in our heart and our energy system. Do you have any sort of further insights deeper into that? I'm intrigued what you learned at that time. If you can hear me.
David, can you hear?
Yeah, I was able to pick up on most of it. It's kind of choppy. I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah, no, for sure that it is, our body is an antenna, and our body truly is an antenna, and we're connecting to each other, but also we're connecting to our source consciousness. But just like with a battery, when you have that battery in your remote and it's not working, you take the back off and there's all this corrosion and stuff, and you're like, oh, of course the terminal doesn't have a strong connection. There's disconnection in there because of the gunk. So when you clean up that gunk, it can allow for the electricity to flow. But same like the meridians in the body, what is dis-ease? It's the disruption of the electrical flow throughout the body. And I think, like, I compare it to the circuit breaker in the house. If you have a bad breaker, then the whole line is affected. And the teeth, these are like our circuit breakers. So you get a bad root canal, guess what? That meridian goes to the breast. You've got higher chance for breast cancer. I don't know. Wow. But also, if our energy isn't amplified and our voltage is low, then we're not going to have a very easy time connecting to our creative consciousness, and we're going to be in a state of lack. And I want to mention that too. What is dehydration? Think about dehydration at a cellular level. It's a state of lack. It's lack and limitation is dehydration. And that's and you're scavenging for life. Like at a cellular level, if it's dehydrated, it's scavenging for life. Like most of us in some cases are just barely hanging on. So that could be dehydration. Financial wealth is directly connected to hydration. I also believe that too. because energy and water, if we're dehydrated, then we're in a state of lack and limitation. Then what does that mean for our pocketbook? You know, in some cases that's connected.
Yeah, and in my experience,
but also think about the terms.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. What were you saying? The term dehydration?
Well, all the financial terms are water terms too. I know you guys probably know that,
Currency.
but most people don't. Like the banks help govern the flow, the cash flow, the banks of the river. Also liquidity, if we're trying to keep our head above the water. Like there's all of these financial money systems. They're also water terms.
Currency.
I never thought of that. Yeah,
I haven't either. Currency. I never thought of that. That's
maritime law. We're under maritime law, which is all about the water.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
But also the maritime law, that's the law of water. That's the law of water. So we're being governed by water law for sure.
Wow.
In the banking system.
Never thought of that before. Yeah.
I am like, oh my God.
But we have water. Sorry, go on.
With dehydration, I really believe that is why I ended up getting ill in the first place. And, just because I wasn't clearing whatever the in and out wasn't equal, which water is huge for that. I also see that people who don't drink water don't want to feel. There's usually pain and trauma, and water will bring fluidity to those emotions and expression and help move out trauma and feel it. And a lot of people don't want to feel it, so they'll do things like alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, whatever, to dumb everything down and not feel. But also, in addition, they stop drinking water, which is just kind of a thing. But like you said, abundance isn't necessarily just money, but it's even like family or stuff or connections with people or, just gratitude or feeling good. And I know I don't usually think about like money and health, but I'm telling you, when a person gets sick, it does take a lot of money because you got to take off time of work. Which is money. You got to go to these doctors or whatever if you choose that. There's all these things where it's like super financial to be in a sick state. And so until it's gone, sometimes people just take advantage and they, abuse themselves or, whatever, and think, oh, I have all the time in the world. But it could happen to anyone. People can lose that electronic component, especially with all the things, the way food is made, the air, the water, like all the different things out there. And when you do a fast or a cleanse or you juice or use oils, actually, you're cleaning the receptors, right? And that's what gives that electronic connection too, is that's a biggie, is just making sure you're not using cleaning supplies and anything that would do interference, because again, that's going to take more energy, right? And like David said, if we have more energy just to like create cool things and come up with concepts or write a book or dance or make a blanket, or I don't know what you like to do out there, but when the energy isn't digesting, like you mentioned, or working to clear all the freaking time, and you do have these windows of healing, especially even at night. Most people don't sleep because they go eat before they go to bed, and then they're digesting all night when they could be releasing HGH, which is the human growth hormone that usually happens between 10 and 12 at night. If we're not sleeping by then, guess what? We missed a big window for a power heal.
The other thing too, a lot of our serotonin, melatonin, right, sleepy time chemicals processed in the digestive system. And most of us don't realize that our umbilical cord, our umbilicus, is our first mouth. All of our body's blood vessels end in the right here in the belly button. So for us to have stinking thinking, it starts in the gut. And most of us have an imbalance in our biochemistry, starts in the gut. Microflora, our intestinal bacteria, all of the pesticides on the produce. Pesticide is to kill microflora. So to kill microflora is to kill the good bacteria in the lower digestion, and now you have insomnia because your melatonin is decreased. So really, most of us are not thinking of our gut as our first brain and our first mouth. And then the vagus nerve connects them both, and they even look the same. A bowl full of spaghetti in the brain and a bowl full of spaghetti in the gut, and the vagus nerve connects them both. So
that's really interesting, because I've had to do personally a lot of work with my solar plexus energy center, which is all that area, because that's where a lot of stress, anxiety, and issues are stored when you're not looking after yourself. And and like you say, what does stress and anxiety cause? A lot of insomnia and issues with your sleep. And I've had problems with my sleep, and I've always thought I'm a very, very light sleeper. So like, you could literally drop a pin and I'm like, bing, I'm awake. I've always been the same. But yeah, that's just really interesting, that, because like you say, I had to do some conscious sort of healing and using pure tones that directly hit the solar plexus area. And I think that's one of the most neglected areas. I mean, people always want the third eye and the crown chakra. They want the big dramatic experiences, but it's all one system. And we need to just be honest with ourselves and admit, if there's an issue, we just acknowledge it. And again, a lack of sleep is a big one. If you're not getting good night's sleep, there's a reason for it. Now, obviously, there are a lot of physical things, like particularly women at a certain time in their life, it can affect them. But I'm not an expert, but I'm sure there's things that can be done for that. But I just think that was a really interesting point that you just made, that, with regards to your guts and your intestinal area, is when you're digesting, your body's still working hard, even though you're trying to rest. So again, come back to intermittent fasting. That's a really good thing to cut off at a certain time, so your body's already done its digestion, so you can rest at night.
Right. And you said the word digestion, but I can't help but think that most of us have a hard time digesting emotional things too. So the solar plexus, I have a lot of females, young and old, who have digestive disorder. A lot of women are constipated and won't even admit it. And poo is taboo, so we can't talk about that. But it's the one thing that we all do. And as a caregiver, I used to have a care home for elderly and disabled. First thing I do is look at the poo, because that's going to tell me a lot about how it's being processed in the body and if there's homeostasis. And then right away, I can tell if there's imbalance, because, hey, that doesn't look right. So, but most of us we don't have the security within ourselves or that solar plexus value, that self-worth, to even have these conversations with strangers or people in my position who might be able to offer some sort of advice. And then also, if you are not digesting physically, you're in the physical reality, you're almost guaranteed to not be digesting well in the emotional reality either. So there's a lot to do with that. And most of us can't even have that conversation yet.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot when I do work with biofeedback. Digestion comes up a lot, and all the time, if digestion is an issue, the nervous system is a wreck, at least on my reports. And so I'll tell people, dude, either fast or get some intermittent or some enzymes, or do a liver cleanse, or do something with juicing to get more enzymes in the body. Because if you're digesting easy and well, you're going to digest like all the things that are, because every organ has its own projection into the field. So if your projection in the field is chaos, working hard, deficiency, withdrawal, all of that, because you're so busy trying to digest, then you won't be able to handle like any of the environmental issues, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that are coming at you. And also, I think I'm a ton agreement on the awakening part of, because I did not see that as a side effect. I didn't go like, oh, I'm going to go do this in hopes my intuition gets better. But what I saw is when I went through my first fast, I was like, wow, I'm having dreams. I'm remembering them. I would wake up and like hear clear voices in the morning of like instructions or something that could happen that day, or even for the collective, I would be getting stuff, and I still get stuff. But when this isn't working, I don't hear as well, and that connection to source isn't as strong. That receptor, even well, I'm pointing up, but really it's all in, right? So that is a great point to bring up, that both of you guys brought up, and I appreciate that. So yeah.
I do have a question for you, and it's completely off topic. I'm not sure about if you want to. I know you want to stick to juicing, but your community might have something to offer too, because I have a very strong connection to cats, and I know most of us are highly connected to animals and children, same like me. And I do have a question though about like we talk about NPCs, non-playable characters in this holographic reality.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about NPCs in terms of non-playable cats, because I have high level conscious telepathic conversations with cats, and then there's those normie cats that just won't connect. And I'm wondering, because of this consciousness and the capability, that resonance, Craig, you're in the music 532 hertz. What is that purr? That's a healing mechanism.
Yeah.
What is there a VAX agenda to create normie cats that aren't capable of transcending that healing vibration? That's what I want to know.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cats purr at, I believe it's 157 megahertz. We're 67 on a healthy adult day. So yeah, cats will come around, especially if you're extra low, and try to change the equation a little bit by sitting on your chest or what have you. And
when I had my care home, I had a resident who was quadriplegic, and I decided to get cats, and I have 2 brother cats that I rescued from the shelter, and there was always one of them with her. They took turns, they had shifts, and it was almost like they didn't know. I didn't sign them up for that. There wasn't an interview process, but they were employees of the care home, and their job was to provide resonance vibration for healing. And I never even asked them to. It was purely instinct. So then there's those other cats that don't even seem to have that capability. So I'm curious, just if there's anybody out there in the world who has any input, drop them in the comments. You know?
Yeah. In all honesty, you know, because I've got cats, I've got dogs, I've got 2 German shepherds, and we've questioned, like, why do they have to go for annual? I don't even say the word. You know, the annual.
Yeah.
You have to get, and I'm like, and like, you know, we put them in kennels when we go on holiday or something, and it's like they have to have all these things, and I'm like, why? They're animals, you know, and surely that they have ways to deal with these things in the wild, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that's a really interesting point. Maybe they're trying to dumb down the benefit that they have to us. Who knows?
Well, and then I've noticed there's some people, and I'm in the public, so I don't judge anybody, but I do notice that some people, they have Labrador Retriever energy, you know, and they're just go with the flow. I'm just here to have a good time. And then there's some Labrador Retrievers that have total human energy. So that's a conscious thing, you know. And then there's the cats that are having like vocal conversations with me, and I feel like I totally know what they're saying. And then there's other ones that just have no clue. So, you know, there is something going on the collective conscious level, and the animals are here for us to take on our stuff. You know, if I have a customer in here that's telling me about their animal and how the animal's not doing well, and then I also know their medical history, I say, well, there's a connection right there for sure. You know, and yay. Have you found a name yet? Have you named?
This is Sophie.
Sophie. Nice. I love it. The other thing too,
cat, but she's a little 2 pound. I wish you could see. She is so much tinier than she actually looks, because she's mostly hair. But I'm telling you, this little girl is so smart, and I think dogs definitely have the same kind of deal. It's a little bit different. I haven't tested their frequency, but there's something really, really important. And when I work with the shelter and someone comes to me as a naturopath for their dog or cat, whatever they're going through is what the owner is going through. Like I can say, okay, forget about the cat. Like, let's talk about you, because they try to take on what whatever their owner is dealing with to try to help like get them through it, basically.
Our children do the same thing, and it's sort of unconscious. And there is a conscious parenting movement right now, I know. So I have a 5-year-old daughter. She assisted me in my awakening. That was her first mission on Earth. And she did a great job on, like, right out of the ballpark. She knocked it out of the park. So now she's on to her other missions, and I get to be the observer, and I get to protect her when I have the opportunity. So that's my job. But also, she's an empath, and she takes on things because that's her love language. Her love language is to help the helpers. Amazing. And she gets that, I think, from me. I'm sort of the same. So I recognize that even our little miniature men and women that we have here, they have jobs, and they don't even really acknowledge, or they're not outspoken about their jobs. But as parents, we have to be conscious of what they're doing in the subconscious. And most of us are unconscious. So then that's just a ripple effect. But we can create positive ripples, and now we can start creating tidal waves with these types of conversations. And I'm wearing a shirt special for you guys, Spiritual Gangster.
Love it.
So, you know, and people ask me all the time, what gang are you from? I say, well, Jesus was from the tribe of Judah, so I'm with him.
Love it. That's brilliant.
We're all spiritual gangsters, I think, rebels, you know, on doing this stuff for the collective.
I've said this numerous times, like, how Christianity has become what it is quite, well, weird, because Jesus was the ultimate rebel. He was the ultimate anti-establishment punk.
Yeah, they killed him for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the ultimate injustice, really. They showed us what injustice truly looks like.
100%, and he willingly took that. You know, that's the whole Christ message. You know, which I find really fascinating. But I just want to jump back on something, because I've never admitted this to anyone, but I'm going to do it publicly. Is that I have conscious conversations with my cat based on what. Okay, and I've practiced this. I've got a half Norwegian forest cat.
Yeah, Maine Coon. I'm a Maine Coon. I know I have the energy of a Maine Coon.
And
really,
he when it's feeding time, he'll be sat on the side waiting for his food, and he's just staring at me, you know, just looking at me. So what I've learned to do is I stare back, and I focus on in between his eyes, and I connect with him, and I'm like, I hear him talk to me, and I'll talk back to him, and he's like, I'm hungry, I want some food, you know. And honestly, it's a real thing, and I've never told anybody that, but I just tell the world, why not?
Good, why not? We're all here.
That's awesome.
I'm here for it. Thank you, Craig. The other thing I want to tell you, Craig, is I have a bed that transmits acoustic vibration. It's by a company called Bioharmonics, and I've been playing your music through my bed.
Oh, wow.
For myself and my customers, for anti-anxiety and anti-depression, and I'm getting very good results.
That's amazing.
So, all of my customers are they want your YouTube channel. So, like,
yes,
I've just been sharing your YouTube channel, and
Thank
I think
so
a lot
much.
of my
I really appreciate
a lot of my friends are listening to your music while they sleep.
So what is this bioharmonic bed? Tell me, what is that?
There's a doctor, he's a chiropractor. He's down in Tulum now, Mexico, and which is where these beds are being manufactured, but it's just transducers inside of a special bed. And the music is designed, the music was designed before the bed, and it's bioharmonics, acoustic resonance vibration, but it's for it's for biological entrainment. So that word we don't talk about. And I know you've struggled with estrangement, right? Rules of estrangement. Also great talk that helped me out a lot personally. But this acoustic vibration and Craig's music, I know that it's done straight from your heart, you know, because you can feel the medicine. And that's what people are saying, is that they feel it in every single cell of their body, and they feel like they're levitating when they leave, because I know that that's the vibration. So they are levitating because they're vibrating. And there's a disconnection in the understanding of that, but I know your music is bridging the gap.
Wow, that's really encouraged me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
And the link to his channel is on here. So
that's how I found it. I didn't even know it existed. I've heard about your music, but then you posted the link in one of the recent chats, and I found it, and I haven't stopped listening since. So
I must do more.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, that's really encouraged me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Yep. And then the bed we use, it's sound therapy, so it's full body, it envelopes. So what I tell people is, imagine if I can shrink you down and put you inside of the acoustic guitar. You can't do that. So this technology, it envelopes your body in that resonance vibration to create an environment for healing. And then I use the iteric hair at the bottom of the feet and the palms of the hands during the session. So that's a real benefit. A lot of my friends ask me to imprint their juice with the iteric hair while they're waiting, you know, so I'll throw some good frequency in their juice for imprinting. And you know, really it's, we can start with juicing. Everybody can start with a 3-day juice cleanse. That's not hard to do. And if you can't do that, then it's easy to see where you need work, and that's your discipline. You know, we utilize food as instant gratification and comfort, but also when we intentionally choose not to digest, we are faced with our innermost insecurities, and that is, a lot of it has to do with food. And you know, so this environment that we have for people who are doing the juice cleanse, we also provide the harmonic resonance and the vibration and the iteric hair and all of these, you know, things. So it's easy for us to create this environment for our body to heal itself if that's our intention. And I needed to be healthy, so I made it my job. And before that, I had a care home where I was providing services to it within my home. And all I did was I changed the care home from a residential setting to more of a commercial setting. Instead of long-term care with reactive medicine, I do short-term care with preventative medicine or wellness. And really we can create that environment for ourselves. I have friends who have started making personal investments in their lives, and now their home looks like a wellness center. Because, and Dr. Sharnael, your home probably looks like a wellness center too, you know. So really we can do that now. There's no excuse, except for we're considering these things as expenses and not so much as investments. Exactly. But then we're investing in things that are expenses and we're calling them investments, and it's not helpful. And it's just a change in perception. If you change the way you think, then your whole world will start to change. And a 3-day juice cleanse is a great place to start for sure.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, we are actually up on the hour already. I can't believe I mean, maybe this was meant to be without Katherine, because you sure did share quite a bit. And Rosie decided to join us.
Is that a tortoise shell? That's a tortoise shell, huh?
Yeah, she never shows up for any of the shows, but I guess she's just
feeling it.
Hi, baby.
That vibe and wanted to see David, I guess.
Yeah. I totally have cat energy. I've always called myself a Maine Coon, but I wasn't able to grow my hair before I started doing all this stuff. And now I can't stop. It's so thick and curly, but before it was dry and brittle. My hair was a reflection of my inner health, really. And now it's electric. So
is it the Native Americans that say that their hair is an extension of the nervous system, and that's why they don't cut it? You know, they always have long hair. Yeah.
Did you hear about the code talkers? And during World War II, they used the Navajo Indians to translate messages. Wow. But also in the very beginning, the Marines, the services, they cut their hair and they lost all of their special powers. So they allowed them to grow their hair back. And the only reason I know that isn't because one of my family's care homes, she cared for an elderly gentleman who was a Marine, and he was a bodyguard for one of the Navajo. And at that time, him and his partner were the only two pairs left throughout all that time that had passed. So he lived the rest of his life in my aunt's care home, my aunt who's here right now in managing the juice bar right now. And so it's like we've been caring for people for a long time, but we neglected to take care of ourselves that entire time. And when she did her juice cleanse, it inspired me. That's a ripple effect. Now we're making tidal waves, and anybody out there listening can do the very same thing that we did. We're not special. We just chose to make different choices, and we never went back.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Well, tell us where we can find you. Where can people come to where's your juice bar?
We're a small town. It's on the Oregon coast, so the southern Oregon coast, beautiful Bandon by the sea. And it's the Rawsome Juice Bar. We're the only one. There's never been a juice bar in this town before us. And that's sort of the thing. We needed to be healthy, so we made it our job. And now we're doing well, but also we're not interested in franchising. I'm building a juice truck for mobile distribution, and I'm calling it like a recalibration station, kind of thing. So, but yeah, Bandon Juice Bar. The website that I've been promoting is it's www.electricjuiceco.info. And at first I was thinking about the co, meaning company, but it's not a company, it's a cooperative, because we're helping each other. I'm helping myself and I'm helping you, so you can help yourself too. And that's how we're cooperating with each other.
Awesome.
So electricjuiceco.info. And yeah, I saw the comment, Bandon, Oregon. That's correct. Thank you.
Bandon, Oregon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's go Bandon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys very much. I look forward. And also the other gal that you had before, she's got a great story too. And what's the reason why she's not here today is part of her story.
Yep.
So I'm excited to hear from her. She should have her own solo episode. So everything happens for a reason.
Indeed.
You guys got to hang out with me, and then next time I'll get to listen and you'll hang out with her.
Yes. I'll have to show you. Look at this baby. This is this morning.
Oh, look at that.
His name is Wallace.
That's so why we're here. That's why we're all here. We're borrowing the world from that little baby right now.
100%.
Yes.
Totally
borrowing the world from that baby, and it's our job.
Yesterday, she was literally he was just a little tiny thing. She's like, I might be busy tomorrow.
Good for you.
So everything we're doing is for them. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
So Craig, any final words? Of course, we got to remind everybody about the meeting this weekend.
Yeah,
and definitely, if you're interested in becoming a member, we'd love for you to be there and help and sign up, help support us to keep going. I'm going to do a giveaway as well. Craig's, tell everybody, remind everybody how they can find your music and you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my meditation music, ethereal stuff channel is in the chat, I believe, or in the bio. So the link's in there if you want to go and check that out. And every subscribe is and like is appreciated, because it helps with the algorithms and things like that. I am in a band as well called Ascension. I mean, drums is my original thing, and I started doing this as a passion project in the lockdowns. I was bored. I was like, what can I do? I had this gear and I thought, I don't know, I like ethereal music. So I thought I'll just start doing this. And it just went on from there. I really hit something special when I was doing it. I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, And then the channel is the result of that. But yeah, Ascension is the name of the band I'm in. I just love connecting with people. I'm on Facebook if people want to connect. And I hope to see people soon.
Awesome. Yes, and if you guys are interested in Iterra Care, I'll have a link here. You guys can go get biofeedback. If you go to swiftfire.org, I do sessions, not just with health and physical, but emotions. I do coaching for even like business. It's all related. So if you guys feel stuck in any way, of course, my book is an easy way just to read it and reverse everything yourself. But go to the website, swiftfire.org, get on the newsletter. There's lots of great resources there. And we're here every Thursday at noon. So I'd really, really appreciate if you guys aren't here, if you could definitely like and share, because I know that there's some people who would love this information that David's talking about today, because even just doing one or two of these things would be a huge change in one person's life. So if someone can make a new choice or two or three, or just add some things that can maybe keep them here and clear and, doing their purpose, then that is what we're here. That's what this whole channel is about, is equipping people to be able to know and take their own ownership back and do their purpose and do their destiny. I feel like our destiny is helping you completely walk in your destiny. And so we just love helping. So
one more thing though, to add on to that, we want to create independent medical freedom, not dependent medical freedom. Yes. That's the same thing about what we already have, just different. Absolutely. So independent medical freedom, that's what I'm supporting.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So love you guys so much. please do share this and get it out, get the information out. We'd love to connect with you this Sunday, and have a wonderful rest of your week. I appreciate you both so much. And thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.